ladies and gents? Stefan Martinez here. Nicholas Gambaro. How you guys doing? Um, busy show today. Action packed. Knicks corner. All the good stuff that you come to love and expect. The accent, the scores. Big NBA draft that we're gonna cover. We're gonna have so much coverage of. Um, Feels like a very busy time for me. And we're just getting started. So um, stay tuned, sit back, and enjoy the show.
Skip. Let's go.
Listen, you're gonna have to come up with a different tagline because
No, that's his signature tagline. Leave him
they're
alone.
they're not going very far.
But it's still that team.
But
As
I
lucky as they are.
I respect you for that, man. You're not giving up on your boys. You're still showing faith. You're still showing character.
Yo, we got Justin Herbert and the Chargers Sunday.
If you didn't start drinking now. Yeah.
What's up,
Yes, they did. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into the Sixers trading for Steph Curry's brother. We're gonna get into the trade of Al Horford, which I didn't think was possible, but they pulled it off. This is a very interesting time to be around the NBA, to be associated with the NBA, to speak to people in the NBA. This feels feels like a significant time as we welcome on the third part of this trio. What's up, man?
Yeah. Good peeps.
What's going on, man?
Baby chilling. Big Nick, Big Steph. What's up, kid?
What's going on, man? Thank you for hopping on with us, man. I'm gonna be looking down at my phone because there was just another Nick trade consummated about 10 minutes ago. So depending on where this trade leads to, it's big man Ed Davis, power forward, coming to the Knicks for and 2 second-round picks in 2023 because the Knicks took on $5 million in cap space of Davis's contract, which is only a year. So the Knicks managed to get 2 second-round picks in 2023, which is now 3 second-round picks in 2023, which could also facilitate other moves down the line. I did the math real quick in my head. I think 7 draft picks over the next 4 years for the Knicks. So let's start with them. Let's start with the two teams in the city. If you're a Knicks fan, I don't know how they pulled this off. We're gonna get to this in a second, but Obi Toppin, you got to feel good for the young fella. Brooklyn born and bred. Was super emotional when he put on the Knick hat. He couldn't even speak. And I'm gonna start with you, man. What do you think of the move, and what do you think this sets up for the future of the organization?
Hey, I've been saying it for a year or so now. I'm a diehard Knicks fan, man, for decades, and I don't think we've been in a better position when it comes to draft picks and money and the salary cap. I don't think I've seen us in a better position than we are now. You know, we got some young kids. This Topin dude, he looks like he could potentially be a star, man. Like, he's the best player in college basketball. If you're the Knicks, how can you pass that up? So I'm happy with the pick, and the fact that he's from New York, and the fact that he wants to be here. You know, that's been the issue with people. Free agents, they don't want to come here. So you had RJ Barrett last year that wanted to be a Knick. Now you got Topin that wants to be a Knick. You know what I'm saying? That's how you build the foundation. That's how you build the culture with people that want to be here. So I'm happy with the pick. I like it. The more talent we can get on this roster, the better. And at the 8th position, you know, in the draft, it's not like there was anybody there that would have been game changer, like guaranteed. Some people were like, "Oh, you should have took the Israeli kid. You should have took this point guard, Stephen A. Smith, who's a bum." He was like, "You should have took this point guard." Stephen A. Smith gets paid for nothing. That guy. So you guys should be getting his salary. But
Thank you.
But yeah, I like the pick, man. Let's do this, Knicks, baby, for life.
I mean, Kayla, I would disagree with you if the roster was still the same. Now, the Knicks gutted their whole roster today. Everybody and their mother either got released, cut. So this roster is barren. Other than RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, Toppin, and the Ed Davis trade, those are the only players currently under contract. And possibly Reggie Bullock, who they just extended it. But I think, look, at the end of the day, you can say go for the point guard. You can say, well, they should have went for I forgot the young brother's name. You could have gone for the point guard. I get it, but Halliburton, you could have gone for Halliburton, which everybody in the league is like, yeah, this kid he's going to be real good when he finds out how to play the NBA game. But here's one thing that I want to point out to people. Kayla, your point is well taken. I think that a lot of people feel how you feel in terms of you should have went for the guard. That's a valid point. However, if you've studied the history of Tom Thibodeau, the guy loves long bodies. He loves big, long bodies. What are the Knicks building right now? Toppin, 6'9" with a 7'3" wingspan if he's standing this way. That's a big, long body. Ed Davis, rangy, big, long body. Kevin Knox, if he figures out the defensive end, big, long, rangy body. And they continue to look for these prototypical long, rangy, athletic guys because that's how you play good defense. If you look at how the Bulls built the championship teams in the 90s, me and Ange and Mike were talking about this when The Last Dance was on. The Bulls basically had a prototype of, we want 5 Mikes. Jordan, same body type, same build, and this is what Thibodeau has been doing for years, going back to his days in Chicago with Jimmy Butler, Luol Deng, Joakim Noah. He wants big guys that can do a little bit of everything. Now, is there liability with Tubin on the defensive end? Yeah, but this is the perfect coach to help him fix that liability. Tibbs is going to preach defense. Yep. It don't matter how many points you score. If you don't defend, you won't play. So I think that right there is an incentive to play defense.
What grade would you give the Knicks last night?
Go ahead, Ange.
I mean, I'm just hearing about this undrafted free agent dude that they picked up. So with Toppin available, because not a lot of people thought Toppin was going to be there at 8. Like I said before, this dude was literally the best player in college basketball. And now he's on the Knicks. We got that other dude Quickly, who's a shooter. The guy they picked up now off of free agency, the rookie, he's a good shooter.
Powell
from Seton Hall, right? So listen, I'm gonna give them a B+. I think they did a good job.
That's solid.
You can't give them an A because they didn't move up and get one of the top 3 stars. That's the only way that they could have got an A in my book. But a B+ is not bad.
Did you like the Thibodeau hire, Ange?
Nah, I didn't like the Thibodeau hire because we're a bunch of young kids. In my mind, I wanted somebody that wanted to that can develop young kids, and I would have loved to see Mark Jackson coaching the Knicks, and even the ex net coach that they fired. Kenny
Atkinson.
Atkinson would have been a good hire because he develops. So at the end of the day, man, it feels like they want to win now. I don't know how they're going to do that with these young kids, but so we'll see. Got to give them a chance.
I think this is something that this is another thing that needs to be pointed out as well too, is the Knicks are going to do something in free agency. You almost get the sense that there is going to be this I wouldn't say earth-shattering, but there's going to be a significant player playing in Madison Square Garden next year. Whether it's Russell Westbrook, they're talking to the Nuggets right now about Malik Beasley, who is a very, very solid two guard who can score, who can shoot the ball, who's another athletic 3-and-D guy. They're talking about all these different things. The reason that I think if you're the Knicks right now, you just got to focus on trying to get the 8 seed. And I know that seems simple, but for an organization that has not had these type of meaningful conversations in close to maybe 20 years, I think it's hard. It's hard to quantify what they are right now. I think we have to let this play out. But the fact that, Russell Westbrook does have designs on, leaving Houston. He wanted to come to the Knicks. The Knicks were on his destination list last summer before he got traded to Houston. So if it takes a Russell Westbrook to bring that fire back, to bring that energy back, I think they consider that. I think they have to consider everything on the table. So I think that's why you're seeing them think of outside the box moves, sign and trade moves, and different ways to augment the roster rather than just saying, okay, we're focused on one player. Because if the one player is not there, then it feels like they have contingency plans. Now, me and Ange yesterday were talking about Fred VanVleet, who is the point guard for the Raptors. I think me and Big Dog, I mentioned this to you briefly in passing, Big Dog. We've talked about him for, possibly the last 3-4 months. Would you give him money? Would you sign him? Would you allow him to? We agree there. I've said that for a while now. Mark should be in the NBA coaching somewhere, but for obvious reasons, it hasn't happened. But Fred VanVleet is interesting, and here's what I keep hearing on Fred VanVleet, which is the Knicks would love to have him, but I don't think Toronto lets him go because Toronto sees him as he's the replacement for Kyle Lowry when either Kyle Lowry leaves or retires. They see him running their point guard spot for at least the next maybe 6-7 years. So they don't want to let him leave, and they're going to do everything they can to get him signed, sealed, and delivered. But it feels like, okay, we know they know they need a point guard. But I think that their focus is right now, let's get versatile ball players that can handle the ball, where you're not leaving it all in a quote unquote point guard. Because the game is also changing too, where you got Giannis bringing up the ball, you got LeBron bringing up the ball, you got bigger body frame guys with point guard skills that are bringing up the basketball. So I think they're thinking along the lines of the prototypical NBA says get a point guard, where now we're just looking for versatility all across the board, where you have 2 or 3 guys that are playmakers rather than just one guy who brings the ball up the floor for the entire game. Now, I agree with you. They need a point guard, but from what they're doing and how they're thinking about this, I don't think they go after the prototypical point guard unless VanVleet falls in their lap. Now, DJ Augustine's another name that I've heard connected with them. I've heard DJ Augustine. I've heard the kid Brad Boilermaker, who the Celtics just cut. He would be a decent option for them if they can make it work. But I don't necessarily think that they're searching for that prototypical point guard.
I mean, I think that the Knicks are just trying to get as much talent on that
roster as possible.
So
and then we'll work out
at the number 8 position in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
We got ourselves the best talent available at number 8. So
listen, Bobby Marks at ESPN real quick before you go. He said this is the best. This is the best that they could have possibly done in getting a player like this. He called Toppin a all-star caliber player with a huge upside. 22 years old, big man body. The defense is a big liability, but from everybody you read, and I talked to different people today, and listen, there was real jubilation inside the front office last night. Like Thibodeau and Walt Perrin and Scott Perry, there was real like, damn, he might not be here, which is why they made the trade yesterday when they acquired the number 23, because they thought they were going to have to package the 8 and 23 to get up to 5, because they thought Cleveland might take him, but the Cavs didn't, obviously.
He dropped
so
in on that, man. And I'm with this
that,
guy Van Fleet. There was an article last week that he said, "Yo, I want the money. I want the bag." So
right.
And Toronto's limited with the amount of money they can give him. I think they can give him about 19, 20. So if the Knicks come in at 25, he's out. He's on the first plane to Madison Square Garden because the dude wants his money. He got a championship. You know what I'm saying? Why not come and build? What is he, 25, 26 years old?
Yeah, Van Fleet's a young guy.
Put him. We need a young up-and-coming point guard to pair with who we have. So if I'm the Knicks, my first aim is Van Fleet. But if we could somehow get Russell Westbrook in the Garden without giving up draft picks, I would do that in a heart, because yo, Russ with these other young guys that we have running up and down the court, that's
this is why I believe, and you may not think about it this way, like, damn, they got 3 picks in 2023. They get to swap picks with Dallas depending on what happens with that. If Dallas has a decent year, I think the Knicks are positioning themselves where I don't think number 1 picks go back to Houston. I think the Knicks say, listen, we'll give you maybe a Kevin Knox and 2 second-round picks for Russell Westbrook. Because honestly, that's all he's worth right now. Because
this isn't about his talent. This is about the fact that he's owed $6.2 billion for the next 3 years. And what team can eat that salary? You know, if the Houston Rockets want to get that salary off of their books, then you can't be asking for the moon and the stars in return. You're lucky if you get a bet from the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? A 6-pack or something. Because the dude, he's older, he's injury prone, and he's what is it, 1/5, $150 million or something over?
It's 130. It's 132 million over 3 years. Now check this out. The 132 million actually has that's all his money. But here's the thing. The way it breaks down, if the Knicks were to do this now, the Knicks would actually have to move other pieces out in another deal to be able to take on his contract, because you would use up both your mid-level exceptions, both your mid-level exceptions, and you'd only be left with vet minimum exceptions, which only start about at $3.4 million. So the Knicks would have to get somebody else involved to take on either Julius Randle's contract, or somebody else would have to move in order to offset some of the costs for your salary cap to be even. So that's why
I think we could get rid of Randle's a decent player, and he's getting paid $20 million a year, which is nothing in this NBA economy. So we can get rid of him. You put him with like a 2nd-round pick to somebody, we can get rid of him. So I'm not worried. If the Knicks wanted to make the space, they could do it. But all I'm not going to be banging on Houston's door for him. But if Houston it comes in like, yo, I just want to unload him, then I listen. And bringing him to the Garden where the next door neighbor is Kevin Durant, like his arch enemy. Yo, is gonna light. It would light a fire underneath him that we would definitely make the playoffs next year.
You want to Big Dog's a fan of the rivalry, so that'll definitely bring some juice to New York basketball, because they don't like each other. They don't pretend to like each other. Listen, you a snake, and that's the way I feel about you.
They hate each other.
So, and the thing I like about Russ, and the thing they're probably thinking in the Garden is, damn, Russ hates the media. So he fits good with us because we don't talk to nobody around here. The Knicks, getting the Knicks on the phone with any sort of public relations deal, which I've tried to do several times, it's like cracking a Da Vinci Code. They don't talk to you.
Yo, but the question I have for Nick, who would win a fist fight, Westbrook or Durant? If they met in the alley somewhere, who would win?
Wow. I go with Westbrook.
Yeah, I'm going with Westbrook. Durant got the reach, but Westbrook is a bulldog, bro. Yeah, bro. Durant's not making it out of that alley alive.
No. But to move to football, and your New York Giants, a big win last Sunday. And my first question is the talk all year of Daniel Jones. Do we draft somebody? Do we, stay with him? Now, I think you guys are going to at least win 2 or 3 more games at the most. I think so. You won't be able to draft anyone that high. But I think or thought all along and still believe in Daniel Jones. Do you believe in him as well, or you still have to see more?
I mean, in my mind, there's a difference between believing in him, that he's that he could be the quarterback of the future, or just do I give the dude 1 more year? And at this point, like you said, you're right. If we were the number 1 or number 2 draft pick, then at this point I would have to still consider taking one of those top QBs in the draft. But if we're gonna be picking 5th or 6th or whatever, top 10, then no one is gonna be better than Daniel Jones at that position. So he's shown a lot of improvement. I mean, in the last 2 games, the dude's undefeated with no turnovers. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take that 2-0. He's not turning the ball over. He's learning. You gotta realize though is that he's not this. Although this is his 2nd year, he didn't play a whole first year last year. He was Eli was the starter for most of the game. So he didn't have 16 games where he was learning. So this year is his first full year, and he's growing. The team is growing behind him. The dude's got tremendous talent. He's an all-around athlete. Like the dude, he is like deceivingly fast.
Yeah.
He's running by quarterbacks. Like this dude's got talent. The touch on his throws. Somebody I heard on the NFL, they compared him to the quarterback for the Bills, but they just said that he's just more accurate. You know what I mean? So so that to me, I definitely like Daniel Jones, man. He's got a heart. Like if you ever watch, he doesn't play scared. He steps up in the pocket. There could be 3 people at his legs, and he's still stepping into the throw. The dude's got talent, man. So I like him.
Yeah, absolutely, John. You're right.
That's a great point.
You never know. And Daniel Jones just, it's stationary. When he's standing in the pocket, he could throw. He could throw on the run. As you mentioned, he could run for first downs if he wanted or more. Yeah. So I think the Giants are in really good hands. And even with Joe Judge, do you like him so far? Because originally, no?
No, I do.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Joe Judge. And what happened a couple days ago? They fired the offensive line coach, right? Because he got into a verbal altercation. And the Giants organization is making it obvious that Joe Judge is the boss. If you're messing with Joe Judge, you're going to get fired or you're going to get benched. You're going to get let go. So I like Joe Judge, man. I think he's brought that old school mentality, leave it like the Tom Coughlin, era.
Right.
So I like it. Is it me or did you guys hear an echo?
There's a little echo.
Yeah.
Stefan, do you hear it?
A little bit.
Okay, so what should I do? Should I hang up or go back? Or?
I mean, you're gonna hear it a little bit.
It's good.
It happens sometimes, depending on.
Okay.
But I like Joe Judge's no nonsense approach. I think that having that is healthy for a football team. I think you noticed that when he took over the line, they got better. They started to develop a kinship between the offensive linemen. Like they're developing more together. My question would be about Daniel Jones is, as the competition heats up and he plays real legitimate competition, whether it be your schedule's easy, but I'm just talking about like if you make the playoffs and he got to go up against the playoff team in the playoffs, like let's just say Seattle. I want to see him go up against Russ shot for shot. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd like to see that just to see where he's at in terms of the quarterback. I don't know. I'm not saying they win, but I would just like to see the back and forth between the two of them.
Do you think the Giants win the division? Because I think they win it.
I'm going to be honest. I think we win. We definitely get 2 more wins. I think we beat Cincinnati, and I think we beat the Cowboys at the end of the year. The rest of those games are going to be tough, but if we could squeak out one of those wins, I think we do win the division. So 6 or 7 games, I think, definitely gets us the division. 6 games are going to be tough because the Eagles will have 3 wins. And they're playing horribly right now. Are they going to get 3 more wins? I don't know. But like Preston said, I would love to see him in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And good experience for Daniel Jones. I think, too, the hiring of Jason Garrett, I think, has helped, too. He's a much better coordinator than a head coach, for sure.
Yeah, that was. I hated that guy's face because he was a cowboy. And just the look on his face got me angry. And when they signed him, I was like, "What is this? How do you sign a cowboy, like an ex-cowboy coach?" So it took me a while to warm up to it, but at the end of the day, he's wearing my colors now, so he's part of my squad. So it's all good.
That's crazy. 6 or 7 wins is gonna work for him. My team may win 11 games and still not get in the playoffs.
Nah, but you got to think about it. There's always those divisions that are horrible. The NFC East has never been this bad. The Giants have. There's been plenty of years where the Giants have won 10 games and lost the division. It's just a cycle that happens every now and then. So
the AFC North is bonkers though. You got Pittsburgh, and I think Cincinnati's coming. Like Joe Burrow's coming.
He's legit.
Right. So we're gonna have to start talking about if everyone goes 3-3, you know what? That's a good point.
That tie did help.
Yeah. So that's a great point by you. But no, I mean Joe Burrow, I always liked his game. I always thought he was going to be a good NFL quarterback. Big Ben looks like he found a fountain of youth somewhere. Yeah. I don't know where he went, but he found it. And listen, as much as we've questioned Lamar Jackson on this show as a quarterback, he's still somebody you have to account for. The Ravens is still a very dangerous football team because that defense is no joke. And if they get the running game down with with Mark Ingram and Lamar, and they start running all over people, then you have a conversation with them. So it's like you said, it goes in cycles. So you just hope that for your side, that division is going through a bad stretch. But the NFC East particularly is always very daunting. It's like one of those divisions. Like, damn, we could win 11 games and still miss a wild card or.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's always been that way. So I guess it goes through good or bad stretches.
Yeah, that's why there ain't no shame in my game if we win the division with 7 wins. You know what I mean? Because everybody else in the division didn't win 7 wins. So all you got to be is the best in your division any given year, right? To get into the playoffs. I'm not saying we win 7 games and we win in the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? That I'm not unrealistic, but get us in the playoffs, get Daniel Jones a little bit of experience, get the whole team. We've got a young squad. The Giants are up and coming, man. Like I'm happy with what they're doing. We get this kid Xavier McKinney back in that secondary. That's going to be a huge pickup. And then what do you guys think about the cornerback we let go, Baker? They dropped all the charges on him.
They dropped all the charges, and here's the thing. One of those charges was a bribery charge because they was digging up dirt on him. One of the lawyers that were on the defense team was digging up dirt on him. That lawyer went to jail.
Yeah,
so he's getting caught. Wow. Yeah, he's getting caught with bribery charges. And where does he go? The Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm like, yo.
What do you mean? They signed him?
Yes.
They signed Baker, the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yes.
Oh my God. Watch this kid turn out to be a all-star because talent-wise, last year when they drafted him, they said he was the steal of the first round because the Giants traded up the end of the first round to pick him. And talent-wise, they were saying he was going to win Rookie of the Year on the defense. So watch. Oh, I can't believe Kansas City just picked him up. Unbelievable.
And it's so crazy. He's on their practice squad. They're gonna elevate. They're gonna elevate him before Sunday's game to play as I think the starting nickel on Sunday. And I'm like, damn, like the team just got him for free.
It is what it is, man. If he's innocent, man, I'm glad that he got back to the NFL because, you know, when you're like a millionaire, everybody's out to get you. You know, so that's just horrible. So I'm glad that he's back in the NFL. And it's all good, but yeah, man. What do you think about those Jets, Nick? What's going on, man?
It's the Jets. There's really nothing to say. I mean, we stink.
You think they're gonna win any games and then potentially get out of the number 1 seed?
God, no. I don't think so. I mean, that would be very Jet-like, but this team is so bad, Ange, I can't see them winning the game. I really can't.
Yeah. I mean, I hope not for their sake, so they can get the number 1 pick, and it'd be good to get that. Listen, ever since I've been a Giant fan, man, I haven't seen the Jets do anything. You know what I mean? So to have that quarterback in New York, that'd be cool to have him and Daniel Jones for the next 10 years.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence.
That'd be crazy.
Trevor Lawrence would be.
I think Sam Darnold has to leave in order to be – because I think he can be great, but he's not going to be great here. And, I mean, the first thing we got to do is fire Adam Gase. But
we got to go.
Will that happen? I don't even know because he's controlling everything in the organization.
Listen, I've said this for a couple weeks. I've said this to you a couple weeks on the show, Big Dog. Adam Gase is running every possible department in that organization right now.
He's the puppet master. I mean, he's controlling everybody.
And you know, what made me think that was when you cut Le'Veon Bell for free, just because you didn't want him to begin with, when you didn't even try to negotiate and get like a late 5th or early 6th, which was on the table for him, according to a couple people that knew of the situation. It just, I mean, if I was him, I'd say,
and I'm a huge Jet fan, but I mean, if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't want to go the Jets. But
if you're Trevor Lawrence, you can't risk getting hurt in college and your career and your NFL dreams possibly going up in smoke.
Yeah, so he's gonna want to be in the NFL. He said he's tired.
He's gonna come out. Yeah, he's gonna come out. The question is it the Jets or can his agents manipulate him like they did with Eli back in the day, where you get into Atlanta, you work out a draft day trade where you give the Jets a drove of first-round picks for the next 100 years and do something like that. Like that could work.
I don't think the Jets. You can offer the Jets 25 first-round draft picks. They need that quarterback of the future. They hadn't had him since what's his name? Joe
Namath.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So you can offer them the world. They're not giving up that number 1 pick.
I mean, if they did, I don't know.
True. But I don't know if taking Trevor Lawrence changes the problems that persist within the organization. Now, it's great to have a good young quarterback who we believe can do everything. But as long as Adam Gase is still in that organization, we're still going to have the same questions as, is he going to develop this kid? Is he going to allow him to develop? We'll see, but
the owner will get rid of him.
We'll see. You better hope Woody comes to his senses and decides, you know what, this guy is killing my football team because Chris Johnson.
He's done. The players don't want to play for him. He hasn't proven anything over the last couple years. The guy's done. The only reason they haven't fired him already is because if you do get in a new coach, that automatically brings in an energy, and then you win. But before you know it, you win 2 or 3 games, and then you're out of the number 1 pick. So that's the only reason why the dude is still here, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That makes all the sense in the world. Successful one day, like I don't know what it's. I think ultimately it's going to take new ownership to win a Super Bowl. I mean, we did get close in 2009 and 2010, back to back. They made the playoffs a few times in the early 2000s when Herm Edwards was there.
You play to win the game.
The 98 championship game against the Broncos. I mean, there's been moments, but
I heard A-Rod and J-Lo are interested in buying the Jets.
yeah, I wouldn't want that.
No, you
I
wouldn't
can't
want
have
J-Lo?
Yankee people running my team. No. Any of my team.
All right, real quick Jet point, because we've discussed this on the show a while back, but it came out, in a report a couple days ago. Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan head coach, if he was available, if you're the New York Jets,
take him.
How much do you open up the checkbook? Is it like, do you give him the checkbook and go, hey man, sign how much you want on this dotted line and we'll make it work?
Yeah, we got money.
Because I think that's what it's going to take for him to leave Michigan. He's making $8 million a year at Michigan, guaranteed over the next 2 seasons. So if you can get him between 10 and 11, he might think about leaving Michigan. He hasn't had that much success in college. Believe it or not, he feels like an NFL head coach. He feels like his style of coaching works better in the NFL. Now, if you told me, I'm putting Trevor Lawrence with Jim Harbaugh,
oh my God,
I'm doing backflips around my living room. Like, that works for me football-wise, because that guy, he knows something about developing young quarterbacks. We've seen him do it with Colin Kaepernick. He's been around. So, if I knew that was a realistic fit, I'd do that.
Oh, absolutely.
What
do you think about that? I think that would be awesome. And especially for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good combination. But at the end of the day, bro, anything would be better than what you have now.
Oh, yeah.
So, honestly, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter who. The guy that cleans the locker room on Sundays, he'd probably be a better head coach. But I think it's going to be hard to get the dude from college to come over here, but the coach. But, if you got enough money, offer him. You think 12 million a year gets him if he's making 8? You know what I mean? Who can turn that down? It's like Phil Jackson with the Knicks, right? He just came because we threw a boatload of money, so you never know.
Oh, by the way, the Knicks just finished paying Phil Jackson at the end of this season.
Oh, so he's off our cap now?
He's officially off the books. The last $12 million just cleared the bank.
Oh my God, I can't believe that. Listen, I was on the bandwagon when I was outside getting ready to there was like all over the internet. They were gonna have like a big march outside the Garden, just like boycotting
a rally.
And I was on my way over there with some people from work, and then the news turned in that they hired Phil Jackson. So we all looked at each other like, "What? We got Phil Jackson?" And we went over there to throw rocks at the Garden. We wound up buying tickets, and we win the game because of Phil Jackson. So I was on the Phil Jackson bandwagon. I'm not gonna lie.
Our friend Emilio was saying Eastern Conference Finals that year, but
and the first thing I did was I was like, yo, hold up. You've been a Knicks fan since the beginning of the year. You know how this works. Just because you bring in Phil Jackson, that doesn't mean it's going to work out. Which clearly we saw. But I got to get into 2 things with you, Ange, before we move on. And first thing is, how does it feel that the Mets owners are actually richer than the Yankees for the first time in your existence?
It's I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I'm nervous. I'm not angry because just because you got all that money doesn't mean that you're gonna buy the right pieces. So, you know what I mean? You gotta have a head on your shoulders when it comes to, like, because you could have the Robinson Cano thing again. You give somebody like that 100-something mil, 200 mil for what? So just because you got that amount of money, you really got to have the internal people, GM, CEOs, whoever it is. Yeah, the guys. Just you got to have the right team. So until they prove that they have the right team to spend that money, I'm not too worried.
Now, here's the thing: if as a baseball fan, yes, I'm a Yankee fan, but I love the sport. So as a baseball fan, I will say this. If you hire Mike Chernoff of the Cleveland Indians, I get scared. Because that's one of the most knowledgeable baseball minds in the sport. That guy drafted Trevor Bauer He helped develop Francisco Lindor. He's the guy. You know, they've been around in Cleveland. They know what they're doing. If you get Mike Chernoff from the Indians, then I start to look at your organization like they know what they're doing because you hired a proven baseball guy to run your baseball operations department. The question is, I will point this out and say this. The Phillies are also looking to hire a GM, and I think the Phillies are in a very different spot, but it's also they're similar in this sense. If Philly hires the right general manager, ownership's already said, listen, we're going to spend more money because you didn't give Bryce Harper the sun, the moon, and the stars to finish third every year. That's not happening. So Philly automatically becomes in play for a Trevor Bauer. They become in play for a DJ LeMahieu to go play second for them. So Philly is another team that I'm watching, but like Ann said though, like if you're a Yankee fan, you're nervous, but you understand. Like, listen, Cashman, he's been doing it. He's been running around circles around these dudes for 30 years almost.
The guy that would get me scared if they sign is the dude that just resigned from the Cubs.
That's who I want.
If they sign him, I'd be pretty scared, bro. I'd probably try to burn down Shea Stadium, the Mets Stadium. Can't have the Mets.
No, but but the interesting thing about Theo is Theo's already said, listen, I want to step away for a year. I kind of want to be with family. He's been in the pressure cooker for 2 decades now. He's been doing this 20 years almost.
That's what Daryl Morey said with the Rockets. And 8 minutes later, he was signed by Philly.
I hear you.
They say that just so they could get away.
Steve Cohen should throw all the money in the world at him.
When they come at him with the money.
If Steve Cohen's smart, I'm gonna give you a figure. This sounds crazy for a general manager, but he just finished making $10 million a year with the Cubs. His starting price with the Mets would probably be $15 million.
Yeah.
That's just to start a conversation with the team. I'd need about $15 million. But I don't think Theo wants to work under Sandy. I think if Theo had his druthers, he wants to run the whole department and hire somebody else to be underneath him.
Yeah.
So unless you could work out a deal where, listen, Theo's there for a year, Sandy finishes off whatever he's doing, and then Theo says, all right, I want to take this all over. Then if you're Theo Epstein, now you have a legitimate dog in the fight because the organization's yours to run. But I just get the sense he wrote a heartfelt letter. He looked gassed towards the end of his couple years in Chicago. He looked like he had nothing left. Where with Daryl Morey, I felt like I was just capped out. I couldn't move no more because I gave James Harden $1 billion. I gave this one $1 billion. So he just couldn't move anymore. He didn't have the freedom from the new ownership to do what he wanted to do. Well, I think if you give Theo Epstein the stamp of like, okay, is as much money as you could possibly spend, do what you want with it, I think it becomes a different sort of deal. So the other Mets, you got to be excited. I would be excited, but like Ann said, I've always been cautious. Like, let's see where they get into running that front office first, and then we'll have conversations after that. And finally, Ann, before we let you go, because I always want his perspective on this stuff because he thinks outside the box. See, because in my head last night, I'm playing chess. I'm like, well, if DJ LeMahieu ends up going somewhere else, and we're gonna end this on a Yankee conversation because I'm very curious to see what his thoughts are. It would suck to lose DJ LeMahieu because I think he's the best player on the Yankees for the last 2 years, and I don't think it's even been close. But I can't see the Yankees going to 5 years for him. We could talk about 4 years at maybe $100 million, where you give him $25 million a year. That might work, but I don't see them going the 5th year. If he's desperate for the 5th year and he walks away, what I would do is I'd bring Didi back to play short. I'd move Gleyber back to second for a year, and next year, when next year comes, you sign either Carlos Correa, you sign either Corey Seager, you sign Trevor Story, you sign one of the premier shortstops on the market next season. If that is the route they went. If they went that route where they said to DJ LeMahieu, listen, your price tag is a bit too exorbitant. We don't want to do it. And we feel like we can kind of make this work with Didi, still a serviceable shortstop. He's getting older, but he's serviceable, and he had his best years with the Yankees. Would that be something you do, or would you go all in on DJ and say it doesn't matter what the cost is, I want him back?
Listen, I love DJ. I think he was the heart and soul of the team. But at the end of the day, DJ LeMahieu is not going to make you win a championship. You know what I'm saying? So he's definitely a big piece to the puzzle, but I'm putting my money in starting pitching. So whatever money they would have given him, I'm going after what's his name?
They're in, but he don't want them no clearly.
Who?
Yeah. Philly's in on Theo Epstein, but I don't think Theo wants that job because that's a lot of he'd have to do a lot of maneuvering just to get them back into a place where he can work his magic. Where the Mets feel like more of an empty space. Yeah, you got Pete Alonso, you got all these younger players. You don't have anybody really tied down. Like Bryce Harper's immovable. You know, that contract, he's staying there for the next 100 years. You know, where Theo's kind of gonna move and shake, and you know what I'm saying? So I don't think Philly is the best spot for him. Plus, Theo wants ownership stake in where he goes next. So if Steve Cohen's smart, listen, give him a 2%, 3% ownership stake, let him have a dog in the fight, and let him run your club. Well, I don't think Philly gives him the ownership stake.
Give him a park.
Yeah.
Let him own the parking lot. Who cares? Name the parking lot.
Listen, my cousin Eddie made a great point. He's like, yo, that guy bathes in money. He bathes in money.
And all he wants to do is win a championship and rub it in the Yankees' face. Like, that's all the guy wants to do. He's been a Met fan for his whole life. That's all he wants. One championship, and then he's gone. He'll probably sell the Mets again. So, I mean, that's all he's here for. But DJ LeMahieu, man, I love him. But if I could get Trevor Bauer here, man, and stack him with our pitching in our rotation, we get what's his name back this year off the Tommy John. That'll be a tremendous top three. And then you get a serviceable second baseman or shortstop, whichever needs to be covered. You know what I mean? Like, I love him, but if you're asking for too much, you know, you gotta keep it
right.
moving.
Like, my whole thing is if I told you that Trevor Bauer was doable, and then you go get Andrelton Simmons to play shortstop next year, Andrelton Simmons is still a defensive wizard at shortstop. He's not the hitter that DJ LeMahieu and Didi Gregorius would be, but he's got the kind of guy that anything up the middle he's getting to. His range is still that good.
The Yankees don't lack offense. We don't. So if you got one or two people in the lineup that are 250 hitters, it's fine. But we need to start pitching.
Right. I agree with you. And honestly, I think I would like to add another bullpen piece because I don't necessarily like if I can move Chapman out of the closer's role, I would, because I don't trust Chapman in a big spot. It just last couple of postseasons, a little bit
more shaky, that dude.
Yeah, it's like, all right, the wheels on the legs on the table are about to collapse. Like
eventually, yeah,
it's about to be done. Yeah. So if they can make a bullpen move, then I would do that. And we took more time than I wanted to, man. Thank you for hopping on. We definitely appreciate it.
No, good job,
man. We'll do this again soon.
You guys got a good show, man. Keep it going, man. And I'll be back whenever you guys need me.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right, peeps.
Yes, sir.
All right, later.
All right.
You too, man. That was awesome.
Yes.
On to what we really love, though. The man of the hour, the man, myth, and the legend of Nick's Corner. Let's do it, brother. What do you got?
Let's start off with hockey. And Elliot Friedman came out with an article today that kind of made me a little nervous, going to be honest. Basically, the discussion this week is talking about, and Stefan can get more into the numbers because that ain't really my thing. But basically where the CBA that was approved over the summer to get, last season basically finished, and it was a good feeling. I'm like, wow, they got it done fast, and the players agreed. Bettman and Bill Daly, Don Fehr, everyone agrees. Everything's hunky dory in the NHL world, right? And you had a successful playoffs over the summer. Yes, it was weird, but it was awesome to me anyway. I think a lot of people even enjoyed it. But now there was supposed to be a press conference this week where Gary Bettman was discussing plans for this coming season, which they really wanted to start on New Year's Day. And now that may not, not that the season may not happen, but the plans for this upcoming season were, going to be finalized this weekend, but now that may not happen. And Elliot Friedman says he doubts it very much. Basically because the NHL now is kind of pulling back, saying that we were, yes, originally going to give you this much or pay you guys this much percentage, but now we're kind of going to take that back. And, of course, the NHL are – okay, so I'll read you a little bit of Elliot Friedman's article. I was just pulling it up.
And then I got some press reporting on this too. So after you read the article, I'll give you.
Well, not the whole thing, but a good part of it. It's not too long, but so from Elliot Friedman, who's awesome reporter, by the way, for Sportsnet. Sometimes you need a good night's sleep to give you perspective. So with that, some thoughts on yesterday. It was not a good day. If anyone was hoping major details about next season would be settled by the weekend, yeah, that's not happening. My personal belief is that if the season is to begin January 1st, a deal needs to be reached by the end of the month, which is next week. No, I'm sorry, 2 weeks. Hopefully sooner, but if some things have to be rushed, they will be rushed. Wednesday's events knock things off course, and the players will need a few days to regroup. They are angry and feel betrayed. That definitely spoke to me and definitely caught my attention. I have a clearer picture now as more details emerged overnight. In the new CBA ratified last July, there were agreements on deferred money for next season and escrow caps during each season of the agreement. And again, I'll point to Stefan for this one. I'm done. But players agreed to a 10% deferral for the upcoming year. Escrow caps are 20% for 2020-21, 14 to 18%, although everyone assumes it will be 18 in 2021-22. In percent in 10%, in 2022-23, and 6% for the remaining 3 seasons. A 1-year extension will be tacked on the end of the CBA if the players owe the league between $125 and $250 million after 2024-25. The cap on that would be 9%. According to several sources, the league submitted 2 proposals. The first asked for changes solely to the upcoming season. Deferred compensation went to 20%, escrow to 25%. There were no other alterations. Okay, and it goes on, but I'm not obviously reading the whole thing. So basically, this is an issue. If we wanted something settled this week or this weekend, now they got to regroup. The players have to get together and talk and then come up with a new plan to the NHL and speak to Gary Bettman and Bill Daly and figure everything out. This, to me, makes me a little – I think it'll still end up getting done, but it is a little nerve-wracking, right? The NHL has had a history more than any of the other sports in North America of having lockouts. And just the fact that they feel betrayed and angry at the front office and the league itself is not good. And I will defer to you, my friend, with the money and kind of break that down a little bit, what I just read? And also, too, what are you hearing from your sources about the league and in terms of a season starting or maybe getting delayed or a lockout, which, knock on wood, I hope does not happen. But what are you hearing?
Okay. A lot of what Elliot Friedman just laid out, I laid out to you 2 nights ago when we were talking. And I'm going to say this. There has been a lot of hurt feelings around the league office. There has been a lot of hurt feelings around the players, the union especially. And this is when it's going to start to become an issue. Because just like in baseball, you keep telling the players, listen, this is what we agreed to. You gave us a figure. You said we agreed to this. You can't turn around now and go back on your word, which you agreed to, just to get an agreement done to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound or lipstick on a pig to appease everybody in the room now. If this is what we agreed to, then you got to stick to that agreement. Now, here's what the NHL will tell you. There was a quote-unquote stopgap provision we put in place to set an agreement so the season can be played because we were losing we were bleeding money. They were losing revenue faster than they could recuperate. So they were like, okay, let's work this out. Let's figure out where we go, and let's try and see where we can recoup some of this money. Now, if you're the players, you were under the understanding that this was going to be it and that the escrow was actually going to be set at 16%, which was the hard line they all agreed to when we came back. I remember telling you this when they came back. I said, Big Dog, the figures are the escrow is at 16%, and the salary cap is probably going to fluctuate depending on if there is another stoppage post this. If the pandemic, if we hit a second wave and they can't really get things going, then there'll probably be another stoppage because they have to rejigger the whole the salary cap. I remember telling you all this. And the last thing I told Big Dog, and the last thing I keep hearing is a lockout is not likely, but it's not completely off the table. Like they understand the severity of if we don't get started by, like if we don't have an agreement by Thanksgiving, we're not starting in January. Because they wanted camps to be open by mid to end of December. And it doesn't feel like that's going to happen now. With all this being discussed and all these different scenarios being thrown out, it doesn't feel like we're going to get an agreement any closer to maybe, middle of December, if that. But they have to start talking. And the fact that they both sides feel like they're giving them the cold shoulder. Well, you lied to me. Well, you lied to me. Well, there's mistrust here and there's mistrust there. And one of the players said that they feel like they're being taken for a fool. They're taking us for a fool. How can we trust somebody that doesn't trust our word? How can we trust somebody that's going to go back on their word and say, oh, well, this is what we agreed to originally? If you can't stick to all that, if you can't stick to this, then we can't do business with you. That's as simple as it goes. And the NHL has had a history of alienating the players where the players are like, well, damn that. Because we're out there getting hurt. We're the ones out there taking blades and sticks and all these injuries. And we play through injuries. And what do we get? A kick. Oh, keep playing. The players are eventually going to man up and say, well, damn that. Even if it hurts the future of the sport, the players must stand up for themselves at a certain point. Even you gotta know that.
Yes.
Well, it's like, damn, you keep lying to us. You keep making us feel like we're the bad ones here. And usually, I know you side with the owner, like you side with whoever wants to do the right thing for the sport. And I agree with you. But if I'm these players, I'm fighting. I'm like, hell no.
And I've always said it. It really angers me as the hockey fan that most of these some of these other sports these players get paid gajillions more dollars than hockey players. And hockey players, the things they go through, I mean, slap shots to the ribs, slap shots to the kneecap, to the foot, high sticks to the teeth and the eye, and then they come back the next shift after getting shot up with a painkiller, or they get you know, 20, 30 stitches in their eye or their mouth, and they come on. I mean, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And they should be paid more. They should be paid the right amount that the NHL has agreed to. And the fact that they're doing this now, pulling back, is wrong.
I agree with you, but let me just break in with some news here a second. The Yankees and DJ LeMahieu's reps met today. There is common ground, and it is believed that while there was no offer made, there was exchange of ideas, and both sides say it's only a matter of time that DJ LeMahieu returns to the Boogie Down. I don't know the term. There were no terms exchanged, but DJ LeMahieu is going to be a Yankee. That's the feeling that I got. I know. I agree with you, Big Dog. It feels like eventually there had to be some. Listen, feelings were definitely ruffled. Feelings were ruffled. People were lied to. People were deceived, and it sucks because it leaves hockey fans like you in a lurch. Like, damn, all I want to do is watch some hockey. Can you get it together, please? Can you get it for this guy, for him? And even for me, because I enjoy playoff hockey. Can you get it together for the people on this show? If you don't do it for anybody else, do it for the viewers of this show.
And a 60-game hockey season, at least if they do that.
Oh,
you might even be into that.
I'm all in. 60 games, I'm all in. Just to watch this guy go mental 60 nights.
And they're throwing around the idea of, like the MLB, just having divisional matchups. No one's traveling into other divisions. It's going to be Metro all the way. Now the Canadian, the all Canadian division, as I talked about last week.
That's going to be a bit of a problem, just because the Toronto borders are not opening up for anything right now, and that's one of the major sticking points where the Canadian franchises feel like they're being shafted because they don't get the same revenue as the American teams do.
Mm-hmm.
Their revenue splits are different because you're working in two different countries. So the value of the money in two different countries. Now the system is set based for everyone, meaning the system is they're aligning it so everyone is included. But the value of the money in both countries is different due to inflation. Now I know this isn't a math class, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of whatever that is. But just know that the Canadian fan base is a lot more angry than the American fan base is. Because they feel like, well, damn, our teams are getting the short end of the stick and we carry the sport. Can you help us? Can you help us?
Yeah, I think I read today till like December 21st right now the Canadian border is closed to the US. So this is so frustrating.
Yeah, but let's talk it out.
Hopefully the NHL figures it out, because I want to see my Islanders make another deep run. But in general, I just love watching all hockey. So
right.
Deeply.
And at this point, you want to salvage whatever's left for the sport, because one thing we keep having arguments about or conversations about on the show is, if you want to salvage hockey, you doing what you're doing right now, being selfish, damaging the sport's reputation. Same thing with baseball, which I've took the test publicly on the show. You can't be selfish now and say it's all about the money when you got people out here being laid off. People have lost their lives. This pandemic is very real. So
yes,
billionaires fighting over millions of dollars, that's not healthy either, because it does nothing but serve to the general public that all sports players are jocks and all they have is egos. They don't care about the common man. They don't care about the person suffering that goes and buys their gear and buys tickets and does all this and buys their, you know what I mean? You are alienating the common man who loves your sport. You're alienating fans like Big Dog who love to watch your game because you feel the need to be selfish. That doesn't make sense to me.
There's stuff in the background there, my playoff rally towels, my Islander flag, my closet is full of stuff, and I got hats galore.
Right, which Right, which goes back to the original point of, hey man, if you're feeling the way Big Dog's feeling, he loves the sport. He loves the Islanders, but he loves the sport, and he's not the only one who sits there and says, why can't hockey get love?" And it's because of moments like this. Because when they have the chance to do the right thing, they become selfish and they drop the ball because it's all about them, and they become petulant children. Somebody said to me last night, "It's like, yo, it's like that. It's like, well, I'm not doing this because you did that. Well, I'm not doing this because you." It's like, why are you going tit for tat, bro? For the betterment of your sport, like, can you figure something out? Because this is legitimate, and hockey is the one sport where the longer this goes and the more money you lose, the league is not strong enough to survive extended times off. It's not strong enough to survive a pandemic. It's not the NBA. It's not baseball. It's not football. It's definitely not football. Especially because the player.
And we don't even know that too. I mean, I know they want to play in their home arenas this season at some point, but
which is a gamble.
It definitely is, and the bubble worked beautifully.
It did. Listen, I was into most of those hockey games.
And the games were legit. Anyone who says, "Oh, it's not a real season, it's bogus," no way. No way. I don't agree with
it. It's a real season. And look, I'm gonna say this. I think if you had to be in,
it's harder to win. I'm sorry to cut you off, but in that situation, being in a bubble, isolated away from your kids, your wives, I mean, you know, your whole family.
And not only that, and that's a huge part of it. Like, it's not like after a game,
you can't do anything.
Right. Like, your social circuit
constantly. There was really no breaks.
Right. Right. And when you do have a break, what do? You go to the hotel room and stay at the wall for 9 hours because there's nothing to do. And so while I'm empathetic, like this is what all these leagues have to figure out. So memo from the Nick and Steph show to all these major sports leagues. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. And I'm talking about the leagues themselves, because if we want the players to be at their best and you want entertainment value, these players need to be put at the forefront of all this. Now, if the players begin to ask for something too crazy, where you're getting the short end of the stick every time you turn around, then of course the players don't deserve to be paid and they deserve to be alienated and scorned and, you know, be called to the carpet for their garbage. But let's understand something here. The players made sacrifices going into a bubble. They're making sacrifices again by going into a pod. This isn't just, oh, well, you get to play in your home arenas. You get to play in your home arenas, but guess what? You don't go home. They're staying in hotels. They don't go home. You don't go home. So if you sign up and you play in a pod, which is one thing that they're fighting over, is we don't get to go home. We get to stay in hotels with each other so no one catches COVID. How crazy is that?
And there were no positive tests. I mean, it worked amazingly.
It worked. But at the end of the day, these players are human beings. Yes, they play a sport for a living. They make good money doing it, so we don't feel bad for them in that regard. But the human being aspect, Big Dog, I know me and you, we wouldn't. I mean, well, me, because I don't like people, so I'd be good confined anywhere. It doesn't really matter. But of course, even me, I'd want to see my family every once in a while. I'd want to see, you know, human contact, or I'd want to be able to call Big Dog and say, "Hey, man, let's go out for a bite," or you know what I'm saying? It's this
Tim Hortons, you know.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, we're two fat guys. We love food. By the way, that top 5 list is coming up on Monday's show. Top 5 side dishes.
We're not saving it for the day. We're doing it early.
Oh, he wants to save for the day. By the way, anybody listening to this, we'll announce it on the show page. Thanksgiving Day, we have a show scheduled for that morning. So anywhere between 10 and 11, we're going to do a Thanksgiving show. Get it out of the way that morning So you can watch the Garbage Fools Bowl that's going to be on your screen for the first couple hours. And then the nightcap. That nightcap.
And Pittsburgh.
I don't know who to root for, but let's go Pittsburgh. Let's go Ravens. Let's go Ravens. It sucks, man. The whole thing sucks. And the NBA is smart. They have a provisional schedule where they're like, okay, we're gonna play this many games in this much time, and you know what I mean? It's smart. So I think the NHL has to do the same thing. But Big Dog, what do you got? I know you got some soccer for us, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Yes, a lot of soccer this week happened. International soccer. So a few things. I'll jump around the Premier League news. The international friendlies were last week, along with Nations League matches. I'll start off quick with the Premier League and some news coming from FIFA. Then I'll break down a bit the Nations League games and what to look forward to next year going into really the international calendar, because it's going to be kind of quiet for a while. But the Premier League, Pep Guardiola extends his Man City deal until 2023, which is big. He's been with them now for quite a few years, Pep. So I think that's a solid move for Man City. He's won titles under them. He's been a success. Nothing really but a success at Man City. The only title he has not won again is that UEFA Champions League, and I think that was a big part of why Man City extended his contract for a few more years. It is such a hard trophy to win, really, because you're playing against the elite of the elite in Europe, the Juventuses, the Madrids, the Barcelonas, the Milans when they're at that top flight, Bayern Munich, the Liverpools. So, it's not an easy tournament to win by any means. But good for Pep. That's a great deal, I think, for City. Now there's really no drama going into, let's say next season if Man City doesn't win the Premier League or doesn't win the Champions League, because, there's always those, well, when's he leaving? Or, are they going to get tired of Pep? Are they going to want to move on? So I think this kind of solidifies Pep's here to stay. Are you talking the NHL jerseys? I like the Flyers jerseys. A lot of people say it's plain, but listen, I love orange. I love that color scheme, the orange and black or orange and blue. So it's a little bit different, the Flyer jersey. I like it. I love the orange.
If this guy could dress in orange every day, he'd be the happiest guy on earth.
Oh, most of my outfits are orange. I mean, of course, I wear different colors, but I like orange. Also, too, Frank Lampard still searching for Pulisic injury solution. Excuse me. They're unsure if he's going to play this weekend in the game. I believe they're playing Newcastle. I'll go over the schedule in a few, but that's still a big loss. And a lot of fans, including me, I mean, understandably, I know, he wasn't.
Real quick, are you concerned that he's been out that long and they still haven't found out what's wrong with him? Is that a bit concerning to you?
A little bit. And a lot of American soccer fans wanted to see him play in these past two friendlies against Wales and Panama, and he didn't get to. And this was the team's, first couple of games since February. And, with the Weston McKennies and Serginho Dest and all those guys, I wanted to see him play Gio Reyna up front. So, you want him to, of course, international soccer. And when I say international, I mean like the national teams. So it's hard for the England team, let's say, or the American team to really gain that chemistry because, again, they don't play that often. It's not like club soccer. It's very different. So, but it is concerning. And it was only a hamstring, but now apparently it's bothering him more than we thought. So hopefully he will play this weekend and get back into the groove of Premier League soccer, and hopefully he'll be all right. Mohamed Salah of Liverpool, also a big concern for a depleted Liverpool side. He tested positive for COVID, so they're still waiting to see when he will be eligible to play. So hopefully he's okay. He's still isolated, and that's a huge loss for Liverpool, especially with the injuries I mentioned on last week's show. If you're the defending champs, but this league is tough. It's not like, no offense, but it's not like the other leagues in Europe. I mean, if you have 2-3 guys out and you lose like a game or two or don't gain the amount of points, that can make a difference down the road towards the end of the season. So we'll have to see. Also, too,
fascinating stuff there. That feels very like Golden State in basketball. Where they had championship aspirations, and then it kind of fell apart there at the end. And so I'm very intrigued to see how that all shakes out. First of all, you hope that everybody comes back healthy and nobody continues to deal with the COVID and things like that. But that just sports' windows are small, man. You can go from a championship contender to your window being closed in less than 2-3 years.
One of their best strikers. I mean, you have Sadio Mane and Firmino, but Salah's big for them. He's been big for them ever since he's been on the club. Other news: Premier League could have fans back before Christmas. Sources.
I heard that.
Football could have fans back inside English stadiums before Christmas. Sources have told ESPN. I got the axe. The Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport held a landmark meeting on Tuesday with key administrators across football, including representatives from the Premier League, the Football Association, the English Football League, the Professional Footballers Association, anti-discrimination campaigners, Kick It Out Loud, and the Football Supporters Association. Secretary of State Oliver Dowden arranged the meeting in response to stalled talks between the Premier League and the AFL over a rescue package for lower league clubs at risk of bankruptcy due to an absence of match day going fans resulting from COVID-19. And this article kind of goes on for a while, so don't want to spend too much time on that. But the gist, we may get fans back. Do I think it's likely? No. Basically because Britain just went in a national lockdown again. The Prime Minister, even Boris Johnson, is in quarantine now for being in close contact with somebody of his staff who caught COVID.
Wow.
And he already had it back, I want to say maybe in the spring, early summer. He caught it.
Yeah, he caught it in like April.
France is in a national lockdown, Germany, Italy, Spain. So a lot of Europe, again, their second wave, though, happened a little bit before ours. But still, I don't think it's really worth the risk. But again, you see there, especially in the EFL, the lower leagues, the championship, which are like basically the minor leagues compared to the Premier League. But you might start seeing what the NFL is doing. Like you may have a few thousand fans just to generate some flow of money. The Premier League is really, I don't think, would be in any trouble because it's like the NFL. Now, they might do the same thing maybe. They might also have like a few thousand fans if they wanted. But they're like the NFL, NBA. They print money like it's really no big deal. That's how big it is. But that's an interesting thing, though, that we could possibly have fans. I miss it. I mean, one thing, too, watching these national team games And I love it. A lot of people don't like it because, well, it's not the best soccer to watch. You know, the players don't have chemistry, or, you know, it's not the best played. All right, maybe, but there's just something about that, playing for your country, and it doesn't happen all that often. It only happens a few times in a calendar year. Even if it's games in preparation for like the World Cup and the Euros, I can't get enough of it.
Oh, we know.
It's just
He's like a fat kid in a candy store. This guy.
It's just special, and seeing like superstars and just great talent in general, even if they don't play together all year, but when they come together, and and the fans make a difference. Like during the tournaments too, you'll see fans travel from city to city. So it's awesome. International football or national team soccer. I love it. The Euro Cup's next year. I know we got into that a lot last week, which is really fun for me. So we'll definitely, of course, when it gets closer and, you know, rosters come out eventually, of course, we'll get into that even more. One thing from FIFA I wanted to mention is how crazy is this, Stefan? FIFA announced Thursday that it is to introduce new regulations to protect the rights of female players, including mandatory maternity leave. This will go to FIFA's council next month for approval. Now, wouldn't you think that this would already be a thing that's in place? I mean, that was my how nuts is that wasn't a...
That should have been the first rule you should have started off the rip. There should have been a rule where automatically where you give females the right to get pregnant and be on maternity leave. Like, how is that something you started from the beginning? That's nuts. There's some corrupt folks in soccer, boy. The corruption in soccer is very real.
It's crazy. So I'm gonna go through the Nations League scores, break down certain games. I won't go through all of them, but so on Saturday and Sunday you had games, and yesterday and Tuesday you had matches. So Saturday, Germany beating Ukraine 3-1, Portugal losing to France 1-0, Sweden defeating Croatia 2-1, Switzerland and Spain 1-1. That game, first of all, Sergio Ramos having 2 penalty shot opportunities and missing both of them. I mean, awful, because normally he's money when he's at the penalty spot. And I don't know what it was. He tried to fake out the goalie, do like a stutter step, but the kick was so weak. I mean, I was like, what are you doing? You're not going to score like that. Like, yeah, some guys try and chip it in or do some trick thing. No. Just kick it with some power, not too much oomph, because you don't want it to, you know, sail over the crossbar. But, my God, you can't just tap in a penalty. And the Swiss goalie knew for sure what way he was going, and I don't know.
Maybe he had a brain fart. Who knows?
He is on the older side now, Sergio Ramos, so he has been with the Spain national team for, since I really getting into soccer. So, like, early, like...
So basically like 60 years ago.
Like, mid-2000s he's been on the Spain team, so he's one of the, really, maybe the only veteran or one of the couple veterans that's still on that Spanish squad. Right. France with a convincing win, even though it was only 1-0, they played really well. But Portugal, for me, is still one of the contenders as well for the Euros. Germany with a great performance on Saturday. Look, they actually look like a semblance of a team, but I'll get into them because that was a historic loss they had to Spain. My God. Netherlands 3-1 on Sunday. That was a really good game. I watched that. The Dutch look really good. Jorginho Wijnaldum scored a couple of goals. Memphis Depay with a goal. They looked consistent. They looked well. Although, I mean, against Bosnia, no offense, but, I mean, the Dutch were expected to win that game. Wales beating Republic of Ireland 1-0. Austria defeating Northern Ireland 2-1. Belgium beating England 2-0. England didn't play all that bad, although, of course, the pessimistic English fans are like, this is absolutely bloody terrible. We play awful. My goodness, this was all. They did not play that bad. And Belgium, listen, of course, they're
you gotta understand, like in England, that's like you can't play average.
No, like I was watching ESPN FC, great show by the way, and the host is English, and he was like flipping out on all the analysts who were talking positive about England, which normally is like never the case. One, a lot of people don't really care for the England national team or the England fans. But in general, England is just not – they're overhyped. I mean, you compared them last week to, I think, Dallas? Although a lot of people say it's weird because the Jets aren't like – because they won the World Cup in 1966, so, you know.
But nobody overhyped the Jets.
No. And the England national team always has had star players. I mean, Wayne Rooney, David Beckham, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard.
Damn, they ain't even the Knicks. They're more like Dallas.
Yeah, and then they always fail. They come up short always in a major tournament.
That sucks.
Italy defeating Poland 2-0. Now we'll get to the more recent games. Portugal, Croatia with a really, really entertaining 3-2 game. Portugal winning that one. France convincingly beating Sweden. You had Spain beating the Germans 6. That's right. 6-0. Which, wow.
Well, on this show, goddamn.
I mean, as a Germany fan, I was stunned. I was shocked.
Wow.
In disbelief, really.
Flabbergasted.
Upset. I'm like, what is this? They just don't look like a team that cares. They don't look like a team that's, you know, they're never consistent. They'll win one game, look terrible, and lose the next game. You know, a mix of old and young could be good sometimes, but I think for this team, and also, too, you know, getting rid of okay, let me ask you this, if you can compare. Well, I don't know if there is a comparison, but the coach of Germany left out 3 senior players who have been on the team for a long time and just said, no, like, thank you, but we don't need your services anymore. 2 of the best defenders, mind you, all 3 of them won a World Cup, have been on deep runs with this German team. Thomas Müller, Jerome Boateng, and Mats Hummels. Now, we're good. We're gooch. We don't need, you know, we're going to bring in young guys. I mean, how do you just do that to 3 of your senior players that have won a trophy with you?
But that's what they. Yeah, but that's the new trend in sports. They don't want experienced dudes in sports because you know what? Experience costs money. Young is cheap. So they figure, let's go young because first of all, and experience means you're gonna take playing time away from the younger guys who you might be building up, which is why they probably went that route.
Yeah, but this team and the coach just sat on the bench the whole time with his arms folded, didn't get up, didn't say nothing, didn't do nothing. Just it's like they're just going through the motions, or they think in their mind maybe, oh, we're Germany, we're one of the soccer superpowers. We'll find it eventually. And look, again, take it for what you will. Yes, it's the Nations League. What that really means, it's technically competitive, but it's not the European Championships. It's not the World Cup. But you do get a trophy at the end. These games technically do count towards something. These have to do with qualifying for the next tournament. And, there is a championship involved here. And they were talking about it too. Like, go ahead. I see you have a
It
thought.
feels like they don't even care. If the coach is standing there with his arms folded, like, we don't care. That's what that feels like to me. That feels like we're Germany. We're one of the best soccer teams in the world. It's almost like what Phil Jackson used to do with the Bulls, where he would let them go through runs and he would let them struggle, and he would sit on the bench with his arm folded. He wouldn't coach, and he'll let them be bad, and he'll let them stew in their own crap and say, when you're ready to learn, come see me, because then I'll be ready to coach.
I want your opinion on something too, if you can. This was a quote from Manuel Neuer, the Germany goalkeeper, who's one of the veterans, won the World Cup in 2014 with them, on the Hummels, Boateng, and Muller's national team absence. All three players could help us in principle. They have proven that often enough in the past, and none of the three, neither Thomas, nor Mats, nor Jerome, have ended their Germany careers. Of course, it is a public issue, but let's just wait and see how things develop. Basically, it is the decision of the national team coach. Can you say drama?
A little bit. And it just comes across as their time could be over. It could be like both sides want a fresh start. And the coach probably figures these guys are older. They can't really do much anymore. And like you said, but they've been dominant. So why would you want them? I mean, I don't know.
Right. They have been up until the 2018 World Cup, losing it in the first round, being eliminated in the group stage, which hasn't happened since, I think, the 30s, they said. Germany, it has been utter dominant in the World Cup. So, but it might be a time for a change. And although the coach has, he has 4 more years, his contract. So, I mean, they want him to be here for the next World Cup. So this European Championships, and the next World Cup, but I don't know if that's going to happen. If Germany keeps playing like this, I can't see Germany keeping him on. And I love him, the coach. I mean, he brought Germany a World Cup. Like when I was getting into soccer and, big fan of
people fade. Like it changes for certain clubs and it's not the same. So I could see where, both sides get tired of each other and they're like, I'm done with this. We've been doing this enough. I'm done with it.
Other scores: Lithuania 2, Kazakhstan 1. So Kazakhstan lost.
Kazakhstan loses, yeah.
Unfortunate. Belgium won 4-2 over Denmark. Italy 2-0 over Bosnia. England 4-0 over Iceland. But Netherlands 2-1 over Poland. And the Nations League finals, now we don't know who's playing who yet, but it's Belgium, Italy, Spain, and France. So that should be interesting. All powers of soccer, all big teams. Should be interesting when that happens next fall.
Right.
Matches coming up, and then we'll wrap up the show after this. The big one of the weekend, my Tottenham versus Manchester City. Should be very, very intriguing match. You got Newcastle and Chelsea, Aston Villa, Brighton, Man United, West Brom. Sunday, you got Fulham and Everton, Sheffield United, West Ham, Leeds, Arsenal, Liverpool, Leicester, which is going to be another cracker of a match.
Wow.
On Monday, you got Burnley, Crystal Palace, and Wolves, Southampton. And also the MLS playoffs start tomorrow night. I'll just say those scores too quick. So you got New England, Montreal tomorrow, and Nashville, Miami. Saturday, Orlando versus NYCFC. Columbus versus New York Red Bulls. And Kansas City versus San Jose. Minnesota, Colorado, and Portland versus Dallas on Sunday. And then the teams who have made it to the next round already, like have a little bit of a bias, Toronto, Philly, and a matchup already, and this is going to be classic, Seattle versus LAFC on Tuesday night. That should be really good. But that's going to wrap us up here for the Nick and Steph show. This was fun as always. Thanks to Ange for hopping on. Nick's Corner was fun as always. I have a good time with that. And always talking to you is the best. So
appreciate that, man. I'm gonna go break some news now. So I'm gonna go from this show to go back to breaking news.
Yes, you go do that and we'll talk later on. All right. Be well. And later, folks.
Big dog. Thanks again. That was awesome.